We kicked off the show with an impromptu Mance Warner Sami Callihan street fight. This was scheduled for later in the night. They had ended up brawling from the backstage area to the ringside area, causing this to kick off the show as it went from the pre-show overflowing onto the main card. So we saw the pre-show end with Sami Callihan powerbombing Mance Warner through a table. We go to black, and we open up the pay-per-view, or the PLE, as these kids call it, with Mance Warner and Callihan midway through their match. This was a pretty awesome match, and largely due to the crowd who just ate this up. You know, Callihan's been working this this more hardcore style since his last injury, and it's definitely gotten more mileage out of his career. He can't do the things he once did, but he can certainly do this, and boy did the crowd pop for it. Mance Warner is a fantastic dance partner for this style of match and for Sami Callihan, so this was a good recipe. The crowd was ready to see some action, and Mancer and Callihan, they really didn't do all that much in the grand scheme of things, considering what we've seen them do across multiple promotions and even things in TNA with Sami Callihan. But I think they were definitely saving this for Rebellion, perhaps. Maybe something a little bloodier, a little more violent. Not that this wasn't violent, there was plenty of action, but I think we're building to something more. We saw Sami Callihan at the climax of the match. He had grabbed Mance Warner's screwdriver, looking to jab it into the eyes or whatever sick, twisted idea he had. Mance Warner was able to capitalize on Steph DeLander at ringside, who had thrown powder or some kind of substance into the eyes of Sami Callihan, of course blinding him. You know how wrestling works. And that gave Mance Warner the opportunity to pick up the victory at 10 minutes and 57 seconds. Pretty cool opener. I love how unique this show opening was. I mean, directly following this match, we got our opening video package. How often do you see the cold open to a pay-per-view follow the opening match? So very unconventional there, just switching up the formula a little bit. But we moved on to the second match on the night. Tessa Blanchard taking on Lei Ying Lee. Really the first big match for Lei Ying Lee. She was, of course, in WWE. Never really got much of an opportunity to shine there. She since signed with TNA, and really it's been much of the same. She's been absent from television for most of her run. This is the first program or even just a match that she can really sink her teeth into, and it's with Tessa Blanchard, which, say what you will about Tessa Blanchard, she is one of the best wrestlers on the planet. So a great coming out party, a great opportunity for Lei Ying Lee. A little bit on Tessa Blanchard. She was introduced by Crystal Poppin, who performs her entrance music. Pretty solid music performance for TNA standards. I've seen about every live performance in TNA, and most of them aren't spectacular. There are a handful. Shout out to AJ Styles' live rendition of Get Ready to Fly in 2009. That one's pretty fantastic. Toby Keith didn't open up, but I mean, he was on the first episode of TNA and even delivered a suplex to Jeff Jarrett. Another controversial figure in Toby Keith. But anyway, Tessa Blanchard and Lei Ying Lee. Pretty awesome stuff. I mean, these girls delivered. 11 minutes of just straight action. The crowd was, of course, super hot. Certainly not in the favor of Tessa Blanchard. Definitely put Lei Ying Lee over in that regard. But yeah, it was really a star-making performance, even in a loss for Lei Ying Lee. I mean, she hung in there with her, and I'd love to see another match between them because, wow. There was one point where, Lei Ying Lee's martial arts kicks, her vibe, her style, it's all very unique. It sticks out, provides something different in the knockouts division and just in wrestling in general, so that stuck out to me. There was a twisting superplex, almost a brain buster that Lei Ying Lee landed. Super sick, but that wasn't enough to put her away. Tessa went to the top, landed Magnum, and my God, was this brutal. I mean, it tends to be brutal. It's a devastating finisher, but wow. I looked at this and just said, if that doesn't finish a match, wrestling is dead. But a great match. It wasn't without its controversy. A lot of people were commenting on Tessa Blanchard's look. Next, we moved on to Ace Austin and the Rascalz, Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz, against Wesley, Tyson DuPont, and Tyreek Igwe. So this feud has been going on for rather long, arguably too long, but they really made the most of it here. I feel like if this was the big climax of the feud, they did a magnificent job. Just under 10 minutes, it was pretty much all action. Ace Austin, the Rascalz went over. Lots of energy from all of them, specifically Trey Miguel, who was just on another level at Sacrifice. But this was a good match. The crowd was pretty hot for it too. You know, they told their story. They had a dramatic moment at the end with Wesley surrounded by Ace Austin and the Rascalz. So that was pretty neat. Yeah, not much to complain about. I don't really need to see this feud continue. I feel like we got all that we can get out of it. But what a showing from everyone. It felt like they were all really motivated to make this memorable. Zachary Wentz finished it off with a spiral tap, which I don't always see him do, but that is a keeper if you are considering. But good stuff. They added a Lucha rules stipulation to it. They really leaned into the Lucha Libre fandom here in El Paso. It worked really well for the pace and the style of everyone in this match, so good stuff overall. Next, we moved on to the low point of the night, in my opinion. Steve Maclin and Frankie Kazarian. But you know, I'm a big fan of both, but this story that they're involved in and just their overall direction has not been fantastic in 2025. Maclin, pretty directionless, not much to his character. Slapped a bulletproof nickname on him, not doing anything for me. I just think he needs a little bit more to him from a storytelling standpoint. You've got Eric Young in the background trying to lure him into the Northern Armory. I don't really get it. You know, Eric Young so desperately wants to recruit Steve Maclin, but why? Why? This is such a common storyline in wrestling, forcing someone to join your stable, as if that is a good way to form a cohesive team. And I know that's a lot of logic to use in pro wrestling, and maybe that's foolish of me, but why would you want an employee that doesn't even want to be there? I mean, it kind of defies everything that the world works around, but hey, this is pro wrestling. We have to suspend disbelief, and this is where we are. But wow, this storyline has just not been interesting. Eric Young did end up helping Steve Maclin. He said he would protect him. He did that. Frankie Kazarian was going for his trophy, and Eric Young shut him off. So we'll see where they go with this. I really don't see this going in a direction to where I'm like riveted, but I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm not gonna judge a book by its cover, as they say, but I've been looking at this cover for quite a long time, and it feels like we haven't even flipped to page 5. So we'll see where we're heading, but this match was just kind of nothing. It felt like just kind of a TV match, just under 9 minutes. Really didn't belong on the pay-per-view, I feel, but, you know, I guess this card did need a break because there were a lot of high-energy matches. The next one, not necessarily high energy, but more of a comedy match at times. Ash by Elegance, Heather by Elegance, and their personal concierge against Spitfire, Danny Luna, and Jody Threat for the Knockouts World Tag Team titles. It was a 3-on-2 handicap match, pretty unique to decide the Knockouts World Tag Team titles, but they've been going at it for a long time. They've put a lot of thought into this story and everyone's character and how they collide. It's honestly been fun at times. It's outstayed its welcome. Occasionally, this got a little bit more mileage out of it, putting the personal concierge in the ring, in full gear, kick pads, muffin top, all the good stuff. Tom Hannafin had some great calls about the love handles of the personal concierge. He compared him to a melting candle, which is possibly the call of the year. But this was fun for what it was. I'm not going to complain about it. I think fun is the best way to put it. Honestly, the personal concierge had a pretty entertaining performance. So shout out George. But the Elegance girls, they recaptured the tag team titles from Spitfire. I say recaptured, this is actually their first reign as the champions. Excuse me, Spitfire was on their second reign. They have now dropped them. They had about 230 days combined as champions, so definitely a strong run in the overall history of the Knockouts tag titles, which hasn't been blessed by the booking gods, but hopefully this run by Ash and Heather by Elegance can be the start of something fresh, something good. I love their character work. I think they really shine, and they're coming together as a tag team. I love the gimmick they do where they lean into the local city that they're performing in and come up with some attire that usually gets some kind of heat in said city. I will say they did do the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders in Dallas, which still managed to get heat. But knowing the Dallas Cowboys' reputation in 2025, this is not a surprise. For El Paso, they managed to bust out the mariachi gear, which was a look. But really, an overall good showing from everyone involved. I thought it was a memorable title change, and I'm honestly excited to see what they do with it. After the match, Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend approached as presumably the next challengers to the Knockouts World Tag Team titles, which are so desperately needed as there are two teams in this division, and we saw both of them in this match. So introducing some of the NXT girls into this division is certainly a wise move. We moved on to Mustafa Ali and Mike Santana. This feud has been absolutely insane. Ali attacking Santana's battles with alcoholism in the past. Santana's been very candid about his addictions and how it's affected himself, his family, his career. And Ali is serving as a constant reminder to these vices, this traumatic past of Mike Santana. And this is the first time that they would really meet in the ring, full-blown match, and boy was it, 13 minutes of just absolute awesome pro wrestling. Probably the match of the night. This was sick. Their styles blend so well. They have a personal story with, plenty of reason to get emotionally invested into, whether you have a history similar to Mike Santana, or if you're just looking from the outside in. I think anyone can connect with what Mike Santana brings to the table. He is one of the most authentic characters you will see in pro wrestling. He feels so real, and it's so easy to get behind. He can look at the hard cam, and he's one of the few guys that you actually feel the emotion of, just through his eyes, through his mannerisms, and that was on full display against Mustafa Ali. This is a very personal match, like I've been saying, and man, it felt like it. It was spotty at times, but that's not a complaint of mine. Obviously, some people will say, oh, that's not wrestling. This was awesome. Great athletes, great wrestling, great story, great crowd. I really can't complain about this much. The only complaint from an entertainment standpoint would be the finish. Ali used the ropes, a cheap finish, kept Mike Santana strong, and you know why they did that, because they're going to have an even crazier match at Rebellion. That will be in Los Angeles, and God knows what Mike Santana is going to be doing at Slammiversary, his hometown, New York, the biggest show TNA will have run in God knows how long. So Mike Santana has a huge year in store for him. First, he's got to get past Ali, and I am excited to go on that ride. After the match, Ali went up to an obvious plant in the front row and snatched a full beer and placed it in perfect view for Mike Santana to catch a glimpse of. And the camera caught all of this. You know they were just so desperate to get this shot for the next video package in this dramatic roller coaster of a sports entertainment feud between Ali and Mike Santana. Great stuff. Seriously, check this one out. Next was the Knockouts title match, Masha Slamovich defending against NXT's Cora Jade. It didn't go long, just under 10 minutes. honestly, Cora doesn't bring too much in the ring. She gets great reactions, that's what I will say. In every show I see her on, whether it's NXT, TNA, crowd reacts. There is something about Cora Jade that the fans respond to, and I really don't think it's the in-ring stuff. After watching this match with Masha Slamovich, who is kind of known for her in-ring work, which she certainly put on display, she looked like an absolute beast in this match. But Cora Jade, you know, she's very lackadaisical in the ring. I don't sense the urgency of someone like Masha Slamovich or even Tessa Blanchard. It's interesting. She certainly serves a different role in this modern wrestling landscape. There's clearly money in it. That's why this push is happening. And I would assume that, you know, Shawn Michaels, NXT, whoever is in charge of these decisions, sees potential in Cora Jade gaining experience with someone like Masha Slamovich and everyone else that TNA has to offer. It's really a win-win. As far as this match goes, I didn't love it. I think some of the things like I was talking about earlier, the lack of urgency kind of hurt. I just didn't feel the physicality that you would want in a Masha Slamovich world title match. And maybe I'm alone in this, but this was not, to me, this was not one of Masha Slamovich's better Knockouts title matches. Not that it was even bad. It was actually, you know, I'd even say it was decent to good. Certainly better than Steve Maclin and Frankie Kazarian's heatless match, but it wasn't great. And I'd love to see Cora Jade improve. I think the best thing she has going for her is her connection with the audience. And I'm not even entirely sure what the reason for that may be. But I don't need to. You know, that's not how wrestling works. Just because I don't get it doesn't mean it's bad. That's something that wrestling fans need to have a constant reminder of. But yeah, it was a solid enough match. Honestly, I'd be curious to see more of what Cora Jade can do against these top girls. I think that's one of the most cool things that we've gotten as part of this NXT TNA relationship is the intertwining of the Knockouts division and the NXT women, who are just absolutely stacked right now, and they probably don't see a great open spot for Cora Jade to shine. And I will say, she is shining in this role, getting great reactions, thousands of fans on these TNA pay-per-views, so I'm sure this isn't the end of Cora Jade in TNA, nor NXT. So keep your eye out for Cora Jade. I definitely think she's an interesting case in 2025. Not like most wrestlers. Speaking of not being like most wrestlers, we move on to the charismatic enigma, Jeff Hardy, battling for the TNA X Division title against Moose in his signature match, the Ladder Match. Now, Jeff Hardy made his TNA debut in 2004 against AJ Styles. That was for the X Division title. In between these two matches, there really hasn't been a lot of X Division moments for Jeff Hardy, despite his style being kind of made for it. Not the smallest wrestler in the world, but does stunts like a ragdoll. There's certainly no limits when Jeff Hardy's in the ring, and that's what the X Division is all about. And that's what ladder matches are all about. And this was Moose's first, but he certainly brought it. They put on an absolute stunt show. The crowd was obviously into it. Jeff Hardy continues to be one of the most popular wrestlers of all time. Definitely some gnarly moments here. Moose did his flip bump onto the ladder that he just absolutely loves doing. If you see Moose in a match with weapons, I can guarantee you he is going to flip to the outside and crash through some kind of object. I can't tell you which object, but in this case, a ladder match, it was a ladder. We also saw chairs and tables, you know, the whole Hardy shebang. Moose did retain. I was pretty heartbroken. Jeff Hardy's my all-time favorite. Come on. I become a little kid when I watch Jeff Hardy. So seeing him lose the X Division title, you know, I wanted to see Jeff do it. He's never done it. There's not a lot of things Jeff's never done. But this will continue to avoid him as Moose hung on to his specialized X Division title, which has been a really good run. He's really elevated the X Division in a sense of main event booking. You know, he was in the co-main event billing here. You don't always see that with the X Division title. However, you should. And I think this will culminate in Leon Slater getting his big moment, his crowning achievement. I'm not sure if he'll be the youngest X Division champion ever, but he will certainly be one of them, because there is a bright future ahead of Leon Slater, who did main event this pay-per-view in the 10-man cage tag team match. The main event, this was, it was Lethal Lockdown. I'm really not sure why it wasn't called Lethal Lockdown. I don't know if lockdown is a trigger word at this point because of, well, you know, the COVID-19 virus, which, interesting note, the last lockdown was originally going to be revived in 2020. It was the last event announced before the actual coronavirus lockdown. So, yeah, TNA had scheduled Lockdown, and the day after they were going to do Outbreak. And those events were canceled due to an outbreak and lockdown due to COVID. So maybe they just wanted to avoid all of that. But this was a Lethal Lockdown match. It was 5-on-5, steel cage, interval entrance. They did every minute, which was much better. There was a lot of dead time in old Lethal Lockdowns. It looks like this shaved about 5 to 10 minutes off of the previous incarnations. It still kind of managed to drag. These matches just, there's not enough room. You know, a 10-man tag in a cage, one cage, it's too tight. And it's, you know, this isn't a 20 by 20 WWE ring either. There's certainly not two of them. So it doesn't really work as far as a great match. You can certainly put on a good, entertaining match that'll send people home happy, and I think that's what this match did. Leon Slater did have the moment of the match with his patented Swanton 450 from the top of the cage. Absolutely stunning dive. He did become the youngest TNA wrestler to main event a pay-per-view at 20 years old, so that's pretty remarkable as well. Oh, let me not bury the lead here. Elijah made his entrance on a damn horse. He rode a horse into the Impact Zone. I think that's a first for TNA. But yeah, what a weird match this was. You know, I mean, in the ring, it was pretty much what you'd expect, but on paper, the lineup. This was also the first TNA main event for the Colognes. Or how about any main event? Outside of Puerto Rico, of course. So the Colognes are pretty new to TNA, and I'm not really sure why. No offense to the Colognes, I'm actually a fan. I'm pretty nostalgic towards them. I mean, I'm pretty nostalgic towards them. I'm 23 years old. They were in the WWE like the past 20 years, so yeah, I grew up watching them. Not much, of course, because they really didn't get a push. Ever. Which begs the question, what they're doing on a major television program again. Well, they do have a historic legacy in steel cage matches, I might add. So hey, I can't get too mad. They were teaming up with the System, so I guess they were honorary System members. I dig it. But yeah, weird lineup aside, it was a pretty cliche Lethal Lockdown style match. A lot of just walking around, brawling, until the anticipated dive from Leon Slater, and the babyfaces win. Until returning Nic Nemeth, who was on his first match since his, I believe it was 4-week unpaid suspension, which Tom Hannafin really hammered in tonight. Nic Nemeth trapped Matt Hardy in the cage with his brother, and they went on to beat down Matt Hardy in the center of the ring with his teammates locked out of the cage. Ryan Nemeth was swinging the steel chair against the cage, preventing his partners from coming in and saving Matt Hardy. His brother Jeff was pretty banged up from earlier. If you saw that ladder match, you would understand. But yeah, we finally got it. We finally got the Nic Nemeth heel turn. I would say this has been pretty telegraphed, pretty built to. It didn't happen exactly how I expected. You know, they were signing off for the show, and then out of nowhere, Nic Nemeth just attacked Matt Hardy. And that was that. Nic Nemeth's the heel now. We didn't see JBL. I don't know if JBL's still lurking around or not. But If he is, I'm sure he'll be involved in this growing alliance between the now evil Nemeth brothers. So, looks like we're headed in a brothers versus brothers feud. The Nemeths and the Hardys. And of course, Nic Nemeth is a heel. So, some interesting stuff here. I think the immediate reaction is that this is good. This will freshen up Nic Nemeth. This will provide, a pretty top heel. I'm not really sure who the top heel would be right now. It was Moose for a while. He's kind of doing X Division stuff. I think Nic Nemeth is about to become the top heel. And I'm excited for it. Nic Nemeth, if you have seen even an ounce of him, you know that he nails everything he is involved in. And we've seen him perform as a heel quite well. So I have no doubt that this will be successful. I'm not sure past the Hardys what the plan is. We're going to get that match probably on pay-per-view. Maybe Unbreakable or Rebellion, I'm not sure. But past that, I don't know. I'm definitely intrigued. They kept us on our toes for this show. It was eventful. What else can I say? Chavo Guerrero will be on Impact on Thursday. If you're not excited for that, you don't love pro wrestling. That does remind me, Mike Santana earlier. Huge Eddie Guerrero shout-outs. They were in El Paso, obviously. That got a huge pop. It was well executed. You know how that can go sometimes. I did not mind this. I thought it was pretty nice. Made me smile. Hope it made you smile. I hope this show made you smile, and I hope this review made you smile. Let us know if you want to see more TNA reviews. I'm trying to do them more. This was Sacrifice 2025, an overall really, really fun watch with a little sprinkle of TNA in there that you may love or hate. Regardless, make sure to let us know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more show reviews.